The night air was cool, and the alien village lay quiet under the silver glow of two moons. The huts were shaped like shells, glowing faintly with the light of living plants. Children had already gone to sleep, but one child stayed awake, lying on her bed of woven grass, staring at the ceiling. Her name was Lyra, a curious girl with wide golden eyes, always asking questions her mother avoided. That evening, she had asked again, "Mother, where is my father?" Her mother had paused, her long hands gripping the edge of the table. Her voice shook as she said, "He is gone, child. That is all you need to know." But Lyra had not been satisfied. She always felt something was missing, a shadow in her life. Something in her blood told her the truth was close, just beyond her reach. As her mother blew out the lamp and told her to sleep, Lyra still watched through the small round window. She saw the village gates, tall wooden poles tied with iron roots, and there, under the pale light of the moons, stood a figure, a stranger. He was taller than the villagers, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a dark cloak. The guards at the gate muttered nervously, gripping their spears. No stranger was welcome here, especially not one who walked with such quiet strength. The villagers feared outsiders, for wars had once scarred their world. Lyra sat up, her heart racing. Something about the figure drew her eyes. Even from a distance, she felt a strange pull, as if she knew him. The stranger lowered his hood, and the guards gasped. His face was not like theirs. His skin was pale, his jaw strong, his hair dark. He was human. Whispers spread fast. Human. Dangerous. Keep him away. The guards argued in low voices, but the man spoke calmly, his voice deep and steady. "I mean no harm. I only seek shelter for the night." The guards hesitated. The last time a human had entered the village, it had ended with blood, but this man's eyes were steady, not cruel. Reluctantly, they opened the gate. The human stepped inside, his boots heavy on the ground. The villagers peered from their doors, pulling children close. Lyra's mother froze when she saw him, her face pale, her lips tight. "Mother," Lyra whispered. "Why are you looking at him like that?" Her mother shook her head quickly. "Stay away from the window, child." But the mother's hands trembled. Her eyes followed the human with fear and sorrow. Lyra had never seen her mother look so shaken. The stranger walked past the homes, quiet but alert. He carried little, only a pack on his back and a tool strapped to his belt. He looked weary, as though he had traveled far. Lyra pressed her face to the glass, unable to look away. The human's eyes caught the moonlight, and for a moment, she felt a shock. His eyes, blue, sharp, alive, looked so much like hers. Her heart thudded in her chest. She whispered, "Mother." His eyes, "They are like mine." Her mother did not answer. She only pulled the curtain shut, her shoulders tense. "Go to bed, Lyra," she said sharply. But Lyra knew something was wrong, something her mother was hiding. That night, the human was given a corner near the well to rest. No one trusted him enough to offer a bed inside their homes. Still, he did not complain. He sat by the fire alone, sharpening a broken blade. His eyes scanned the stars as though searching for something lost long ago. Lyra slipped out of her hut quietly, her small feet silent on the ground. She crept closer to see him. The firelight touched his face. It was not cruel, not monstrous. As the story said, it was tired, scarred, but strong. She wondered why her heart beat faster the longer she looked at him. Behind her, her mother appeared suddenly, pulling her back. Her grip was firm, her voice low and urgent. "Do not go." "Hear him, Lyra." "Why?" Lyra asked, her voice trembling. Her mother's lips pressed tight, her eyes glistening with tears. "Because he carries a truth you are not ready to hear." Lyra looked back at the human, who sat alone in the firelight. Her young heart did not understand, but deep inside she knew her life had just changed. The stranger had come, and with him, the answers she had always longed for. The next morning, the village was restless. The news had already spread. A human had entered their gates. Children were warned to stay indoors, and old warriors, sharpened their spears. The market stalls opened slowly, but eyes always drifted toward the stranger who sat quietly by the well. Lyra woke early, still thinking about the man with the blue eyes. She remembered the way her mother had pulled her back, her face pale with fear. She wanted to ask more questions, but her mother moved through the hut like a ghost, silent. When Lyra tried, her mother only said, "Forget him, child." But Lyra could not. Something about him was too familiar, too important. As the sun rose higher, whispers filled the streets. Why is he here? What does he want? He will bring war. The villagers spoke with fear, and anger grew in their voices. No one trusted humans, not after what had happened years ago. Lyra slipped away from her mother and hid among the crowd. She listened as two elders spoke near. "The well. That man carries himself like a soldier," one said, his voice low. "I fought against humans once. I will never forget their cruelty," said the other. Lyra frowned, her young mind puzzled. The stranger had not looked cruel at all. He had looked tired, lonely, almost sad. The human did not shout back at the villagers. He only bowed his head, speaking softly when spoken to. He repaired a broken water pipe without being asked. And when a child tripped near him, he helped her up gently. The villagers still kept their distance, but some stared in silence. Confused by his actions, that afternoon Lyra found herself standing behind a fence, watching him. Her golden eyes studied his every move. The way he moved his hands reminded her of someone she did not know. The way he stood tall but not proud felt strange to her people, and most of all his eyes. They caught the light of the sun the same way hers did. A shiver ran through her. Her mother noticed her watching. She pulled Lyra back again, her face pale. "You must not be near him." Her mother said, "But why?" Lyra whispered. Her mother's lips trembled, her voice barely holding steady. "Because he is part of a world we cannot touch." That night, when most of the village slept, her mother sat alone by the fire. The flames flickered across her face. As she stared into the past, memories she had buried long ago rose like ghosts. She remembered the battlefield, smoke and blood filling the air. She had been young then, a healer caught in the war between species. The humans had been enemies, ruthless, merciless, and yet one human had saved her. She remembered his strong arms lifting her from the rubble, his voice calm but urgent telling her to run. He had stayed behind to fight. But he had returned later carrying wounds and a strange smile. That was the beginning of a secret she had never spoken. A bond formed in shadows, a bond that had given her Lyra. She shook her head now, gripping her knees. She had promised herself never to tell. The world would never forgive her. The village would cast her out, and Lyra would suffer. Better the child believed her father was gone than know the truth. But now the truth had walked back into her life. The human by the well was not just a traveler. He was the man from her memories, the one she had tried to forget. And Lyra's eyes, so much like his, betrayed everything. The mother wiped her tears quickly when she heard footsteps. Lyra stood in the doorway, staring at her with wide eyes. "You know him," the child whispered. The mother froze, her heart pounding. For a moment, she wanted to lie, to deny, but she saw the determination in her daughter's eyes. She knew this secret could not be buried much longer. The next morning, the whispers in the village grew louder. Some demanded the human be thrown out. Others wanted him questioned. But Lyra only thought of her mother's silence and the sadness in both their eyes. She was young, but she understood one thing. A storm was coming, and when it broke, nothing in her life would ever be the same again. The human stayed in the village longer than anyone expected. Each day he worked quietly near the well, repairing broken tools, mending fences, and helping wherever he could. He did not ask for food, though the guards gave him scraps. He did not demand respect, though the children whispered and stared at him from behind walls. He only moved with calm patience, as if he was waiting for something. Lyra found herself drawn to him. Every time she passed by, she slowed her steps, her golden eyes searching for his face. At first she told herself it was only curiosity, but the more she looked, the more she noticed. The curve of his jaw, the shape of his hands, the way his eyes glowed in the light. They all reminded her of something inside herself. One afternoon, she followed him to the edge of the fields. The villagers had refused to let him stay in their homes, so he had made a small shelter of wood and leaves near the trees. He sat sharpening his blade, his movements slow and steady. When he lifted his head, their eyes met. Lyra gasped. His eyes were not like the others in the village. They were sharp, clear and blue as the sky, and when she looked into them she felt as if she was looking into a mirror. "Why do you stare at me, child?" the man asked, his voice low but not unkind. Lyra hesitated, her hands clutching the fence post. I do not know," she said softly. But she did know. His eyes, those eyes, were hers. Her heart raced as though her soul recognized him. The human studied her for a long moment, then looked away. "You should not be near me," he said quietly. "Your people do not want me here." Lyra frowned. "Then why did you come?" she asked. The man's lips curved in something between a smile and sorrow. "Because sometimes the road brings you back to places you thought you had lost forever," he said. His words confused her, but they also stirred something deep inside. When she returned home, she asked her mother again, "Why do I look like him?" Her mother's face went pale, her hands trembling as she tried to chop fruit. "You do not," she said quickly, but Lyra stepped closer, her small voice firm. "His eyes are my eyes, Mother. Tell me the truth." The knife slipped from her mother's hand and clattered on the table. Her mother's silence was louder than any words. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The human's eyes haunted, her blue endless, filled with secrets. She felt anger rise in her chest. Why did her mother keep the truth from her? Why was she always told lies? The next morning, tension gripped the village. The council had gathered, and voices shouted from the meeting hall. Some wanted the human cast out. Others argued that he had caused no harm. Fear burned hotter than reason. "He is dangerous," cried one elder. "His kind brought fire and blood to our world." But a younger villager spoke up. "This man repaired the well when no one else could. He gave food to our children. Does that sound like a monster?" The council could not agree. The villagers were split. But one thing was clear. The human could not stay forever. Later that day, as the sun dipped low, Lyra crept to the edge of the fields again. The man was working quietly, carving something from wood. When he saw her, he held it out. It was a small figure of a bird. Wings spread wide. Lyra gasped and took it, her hands trembling. "No one has ever made me something like this," she whispered. The human only nodded, his eyes soft. For a moment there was peace between them. But from the shadows other children had seen. They ran back shouting, "She is speaking to the human." Within moments, villagers stormed toward the field, their faces twisted with anger. Lyra's mother arrived, breathless, pulling her daughter close. "Stay away from him," she cried. Her eyes locked with the human's, and for a heartbeat the world grew still. A silent recognition passed between them. Fear, regret, and something deeper, something unspoken. The villagers shouted, pushing the human back with spears. "Leave this place before nightfall," they warned. The man did not fight. He only looked once more at Lyra. His blue eyes held a weight she could not understand, and then he turned away, walking back to his lonely shelter. That night, as the village slept, Lyra whispered to her mother, "You know him, don't you?" Her mother closed her eyes, her voice breaking. "Yes," she whispered, though her tears fell silently. Lyra's heart pounded. The truth was closer than ever. The human's eyes had unlocked a door that could no longer stay closed. The village sky was heavy with clouds that night. The moons were hidden, and the air carried a strange silence. No laughter, no music, only whispers passed from one hut to another. The human's presence had shaken them all, and fear grew like a shadow. Lyra sat by the window, her little wooden bird in her hand. She turned it over again and again, staring at the shape he had carved for her. Her heart beat fast, as if she already knew something her mother refused to say. Her mother sat across the room, staring into the fire. Her face looked older, worn by secrets too heavy to carry. "Mother," Lyra whispered, breaking the silence. "Why do I have his eyes?" Her mother's hands tightened around her knees, her shoulders trembling. "I told you before, child," she said, her voice low and sharp, but Lyra's golden eyes glistened with stubborn tears. "You know him. You know him better than anyone. Here." The words struck like an arrow. Her mother's face turned pale. Her lips pressed tight. Before she could answer, angry voices rose outside. The villagers gathered near the well, holding torches. The human stood alone, calm, but surrounded. The council shouted, "We cannot let him stay another night. He is a danger. Cast him out before war follows him." The torches burned bright and fear fed their anger. Lyra's mother stood suddenly, her breath quick and heavy. She knew what was coming. If she stayed silent, the man would be driven out. If she spoke, the truth, the world she had built would crumble. She grabbed Lyra's hand and rushed outside, pushing through the crowd. The torches lit the human's face, his eyes calm. He did not fight. He did not shout. He only stood there steady as a stone, but when his eyes met hers, the alien mother's, his calm cracked. There was sorrow, regret, and a silent plea. She froze, her heart breaking. She could no longer hide. The villagers shouted louder, spears raised. "This man must leave now. He cannot be trusted." And then, in the middle of the storm, Lyra's voice rang out, "No, he is not a stranger." The crowd turned, shocked. Her mother pulled her close, but it was too late. The child's words had opened the door. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she pointed at the human. "Tell them, mother," she begged, her voice trembling. "Tell me the truth. Is he my father?" The villagers gasped, their voices falling into silence. All eyes turned to the mother. Her hands shook, her lips parted, and at last the words escaped her. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. "This man, this human, is your real father." The world seemed to stop. The crowd fell silent. The torches flickered. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as the truth finally burned in the open. The human's eyes widened, shock and pain colliding on his face. He took a step forward, his lips parting as if to speak, but the villagers erupted into chaos. Impossible. An alien and a human, together? She betrayed her own people. They had a child? Their voices rose like thunder, filled with rage and disbelief. Lyra clung to her mother, her small body shaking. But inside her heart there was also something new, something strong. For the first time she felt whole. The human was not just a stranger, not just an outsider. He was her blood, her father. Her mother held her tight, tears falling freely now. She shouted over the crowd, her voice breaking. "You do not understand. He saved me when your wars left me to die. He protected me when no one else would. I hid the truth because I feared you would cast me out, cast her out." She pointed at Lyra, her hands trembling. "She is innocent. She deserves to know who she is." The crowd's anger did not fade. Some shouted for punishment, others for exile. The guards pushed closer, their spears gleaming in the torchlight. The human finally spoke, his voice calm but filled with fire. "If you want me gone, I will leave. But do not touch them. They are mine to protect." The mother's heart twisted hearing his words, so many years of silence, and yet his voice was still the same. Steady, strong, unshaken. Her chest ached with both love and fear. The villagers pressed forward, the air thick with danger. Lyra clutched her father's eyes with her own, and in that moment, she knew her life had changed forever. The truth had been revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. The village burned with anger. The torches blazed, voices rose, and the truth spread like fire. The alien mother stood clutching her daughter, and the human stood only steps away. The air shook with rage, fear, and disbelief. "He is her father?" one villager shouted. A human mixed with one of us, it is an abomination. Cast them out. Cast them all out. The crowd pressed forward, their faces twisted with fury. Even those who had once stayed silent now raised their voices. Fear made them cruel. Lyra clung to her mother, tears streaking her face. But her small heart felt more courage than fear. For the first time, she had a father, and she would not let them take him away. The council elder stepped forward, his voice sharp and heavy. This village was built to protect us from the humans, he declared. And yet you, he pointed at the alien mother, betrayed us all. You laid with the enemy, and now you bring his blood into our home. We will not allow it. The mother's knees trembled, but she held her head high. Her voice cracked, but her words were steady. I did what I had to do to survive, and from that choice came a child. My child. She is innocent, yet you call her curse. Tell me, what kind of people judge a child for being born? The villagers shouted back, drowning her words. A human child is no child of ours. She does not belong here. She will bring destruction. Spears rattled against the ground and the circle around them tightened. The human finally stepped forward, his blue eyes flashing in the firelight. Enough, he said, his voice carrying over the storm. He stood tall, unflinching even as the spears pointed at his chest. You want to hate me? Fine, hate me. I am human, but leave them out of this. They are my family, and I will not let you harm them. His words only fueled the fire. He admits it. A man spat. He claims them. He must be removed before more humans come. Kill him before. He brings soldiers, another shouted. The crowd roared, their fear turning into violence. The guard stepped closer, spears raised. Lyra's mother pulled her daughter behind her, her heart pounding, the human's hands curled into fists. But he did not attack. He stood his ground, his jaw tight. I will not raise my blade against you, he said. But I will not run. If you want me gone, you will have to drag me. But remember, if you harm them, you will regret it. The mother looked at him, her chest aching. He had always been this way. Stubborn, strong, protective. It was what had drawn her to him all those years ago. And now, seeing him again, she felt the same pull. But the world had turned against them. The elder lifted his hand, ready to give the order. But before he spoke, another voice rose from the crowd. A young woman stepped forward, her arms crossed. This is madness, she said. You call yourselves protectors, but you are ready to harm a child. This man fixed our water, gave food to our children, and you call him a monster. The crowd faltered for a moment. Some villagers lowered their torches, their eyes uncertain, but the elder's face hardened. You are blind, he snapped. You see kindness now, but tomorrow he will betray us. Humans always betray. It is their nature. The argument split the crowd. Some shouted for exile, others for mercy, but fear still outweighed reason. The guards tightened their circle. The human placed himself in front of the mother and child, his shoulders broad like a shield. If you want to strike, he growled, then strike me first. Lyra's heart raced, her small hands gripping her mother's dress. She wanted to scream, to tell them they were wrong, but her voice was too small against the storm. Tears filled her eyes, but inside she felt something stronger than fear. A spark of defiance, the same spark she saw in his eyes. The mother's voice broke as she cried out, If you cast us out, then so be it, but you will not erase the truth. This child carries both worlds. You can call her curse, but one day you will see. She is hope. The villagers did not listen. The elder gave the order. Take them away. Guards moved forward, spears gleaming. The crowd roared again, drowning reason. And in that moment, Lyra understood. Her life in the village was over. Her family had been marked as outcasts, but deep in her chest, she also felt it. This was not an ending. It was the beginning of something greater. The villagers surged forward, their voices thundering in anger. Torches flickered, spears gleamed, and the circle around the human and his family grew tighter. Lyra clutched her mother's hand, her small body trembling. But her eyes, bright and golden, stared with defiance. She was afraid, but something inside her told her not to hide anymore. The human raised his arm, keeping the guards at bay. Stop, he said, his voice calm but strong. You think I came here to harm you? You are wrong. If I wanted war, I would not have come alone. If I wanted blood, it would already stain your streets. Some villagers hesitated, lowering their spears slightly, but others snarled, shouting, "Lies! Humans cannot be trusted. Remove him before more follow." The elder stepped forward, his hand raised for silence. "Why are you here, human? Speak truth or you will not see another sunrise." The human's eyes flicked to the mother, then to Lyra. For a long moment he said nothing, then his voice dropped low, carrying across the crowd. "I came because I lost something long ago, something I thought I would never find again. And now I stand before it." Confusion spread, whispers rippling through the villagers. The elder narrowed his eyes. "What is it you claim you lost?" The human's chest rose and fell as he answered. "My family." Gasps spread like wind through the crowd. The villagers turned to stare at the alien mother, then at Lyra. The elder's face twisted in disgust. "You admit it openly? You admit your shame?" But the human's voice grew louder, no longer calm but fierce. "I feel no shame. Years ago, I fought beside her, your healer. Your warriors left her to die on the battlefield. But I did not. I carried her out with my own hands. I bled for her. I would have died for her." The mother's eyes filled with tears as his words broke through years of silence. Memories flooded back, his arms shielding her from falling debris, his voice guiding her through the smoke, his stubborn will refusing to let her die. She had buried those memories, afraid the world would never forgive her. But here he stood, unbroken, still claiming her. The human pointed to Lyra, his hand steady. And from that moment came her, my daughter, my blood, my heart. The villagers erupted in shouts, half in fury, half in disbelief. Some spat on the ground. "An alien child of a human? It cannot be. She carries his corruption." But others hesitated, their anger cracking. They looked at the child, trembling but standing tall. Her eyes shone with tears and light, eyes too much like his to deny. Lyra stepped forward, surprising even her mother. Her small voice cut through the noise. "I am not a curse," she cried. "I am not shame. I am their child, and I will not hide." Her courage silenced the crowd for a heartbeat. Even the elder faltered, though his face remained hard. The mother knelt, pulling her close, whispering, "You are stronger than I ever was." The elder's voice thundered again. "You speak. Pretty words, human, but they do not wash away what you are. You are danger, and danger has no place here." He raised his hand toward the guards, ready to give the final order. The human's eyes burned with fire. "Then listen well." He growled, his voice deep as thunder. "You want my blood? Take it. But if you lay a hand on them, on my daughter, on her mother, I will become the storm you fear." His hand rested on the hilt of his blade, not raised, not threatening, but ready. The air grew thick. The guards hesitated. No one doubted his words. He would die before letting harm touch them. The mother stood beside him, her voice breaking yet fierce. "Call us traitors, call us cursed, but we are not leaving each other. I will not deny him, and I will not deny her. This is my family, and no council, no elder, no fear will change." "That," the villagers muttered, torn between rage and doubt. Some shouted for blood, others begged for calm. The fire of anger clashed with the spark of truth. The elder's face twisted, his hand still raised, but his voice shook when he spoke. "Then you leave us no choice." At that moment, a distant horn blew, echoing from beyond the village walls. The guards froze, their spears lowering in confusion. A warning horn. Danger was near. All eyes turned to the gates. The storm that had been brewing inside the village was about to be overshadowed by something far worse. The human looked toward the sound, his jaw tightening. He knew that call. He had heard it before on battlefields long past, and he whispered under his breath, "They have found me." The horn echoed again through the night, louder this time. Every villager froze, their torches flickering as fear swept over the crowd. The guards at the gate shouted, their voices sharp with alarm, "They are coming! Raiders from the outer lands!" Panic rippled through the people. The angry chants died, replaced by cries of fear. Mothers pulled their children close. Warriors grabbed their weapons. The elder raised his voice, but even his authority shook. "Prepare the defenses. To the walls!" Beyond the gate, shadows moved. Dozens of raiders, armed, wild, merciless, marched toward the village. They carried fire in their hands, their eyes glowing with hunger for destruction. This was no small threat. This was death at their doorstep. The villagers scrambled, their unity shattered by fear. And in the center of the chaos stood the human. He looked toward the enemy with calm, steady eyes. "This is no time for your hate," he said. "If you want to live, you will need me. Because I have faced them before." The elder spat in anger, but his voice wavered. "You expect us to fight beside you?" The human's voice cut sharp. "You have no choice, either fight with me or watch your homes burn." The villagers hesitated, torn between fear and pride. But the horn blasted again, and fire lit the horizon. The choice was made for them. The raiders were too close, too many. They could not win without help. The human drew his blade, its edge gleaming in the torchlight. He turned to the alien mother and Lyra. "Stay behind me," he said firmly. But the mother shook her head, fire burning in her eyes. "No, I will fight beside you. I will not hide anymore." Lyra's small hand tightened around her mother's. "Cloak," her voice soft but fierce. "And I will not be afraid." The gates shook as the raiders struck. The wood groaned and splinters rained down. The villagers formed a shaky line. Spears pointed outward. The elder shouted orders, but his voice cracked under fear. It was the human who stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Hold the line!" he roared. "Do not break! Fight for your homes! Fight for your families!" The gates burst open and the raiders poured in. The clash was instant. Steel against wood, fire against flesh. Chaos erupted, screams filled the air. But at the front of the battle, the human stood tall. His blade flashed, swift and precise. Cutting down the first wave, his movements were fierce but controlled. He fought not for glory but for protection. The villagers watched, stunned. The man they had called enemy now shielded them. He moved like a wall of iron, every strike pushing the raiders back. The alien mother stood beside him, her healer's hands now carrying a spear. She struck with courage, defending her daughter. For years she had hidden in fear, but now she fought openly, proud and unafraid. The battle raged, and slowly the villagers found their courage. They fought harder, standing shoulder to shoulder with the human. The elder's voice broke, but others shouted battle cries. Together they pushed the raiders back. For the first time they fought not as aliens alone, but as one with the human. When the last raider fell and the flames were put out, the village stood in silence. Bodies lay on the ground, but the walls still stood. The people were alive, and at the center of it all stood the human, his chest heaving, his blade dripping, but his eyes were steady, his family safe behind him. The elder staggered forward, his face pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The villagers looked at the human with something new. Not hate, not fear, but respect. They had seen his strength, his loyalty, his sacrifice, and they could not deny it. The alien mother stepped forward, holding Lyra close. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the silence. "You called us curse. You called us shame. But tonight it was this man, this human who saved you. And it was his blood in my daughter's veins that gave us hope. Do not forget that." The villagers bowed their heads, some in shame, some in silent agreement. The elder turned away, his power broken. The truth could no longer be denied. Lyra stood between her mother and father, her golden eyes shining with tears. For the first time, she felt whole. She had a mother who fought for her, a father who claimed her, and a place where she belonged, not just between two worlds, but as the bridge that could bring them together. As dawn broke, the smoke cleared. The villagers rebuilt their walls, and though whispers still lingered, a seed had been planted. They had seen what a human could do. They had seen what a family born of two worlds could mean. The human placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder, his voice steady. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Her mother nodded, her eyes warm with pride, and Lyra smiled through her tears. Yes, together. The sun rose on a new day, and though the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. This was not the end. It was a new beginning.